Om. 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Infinite Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Infinite Shanti Shanti Shanti. There is intake arrival. Om. Come. Already, always, everywhere. Come. Come hear this live God transmission. Om. Come. Om. 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 Come, the numbers say 349. Om. Come. Come absorb this God truth transmission. Om. Come, the numbers say 349. Om. Come. So, some God-lang vocabulary yet again. There can be scrolling down on the seeming God in the form of the page to get to this information. But it is being presented again. God in the form of Gitvo. God in the happening of Githo. Getern. God eternity. Om. Ginfini. God infinity. Om. God in the happening of. God in the form of. God eternity. God infinity. Om. Basic God-lang vocabulary. Om. Om. For those coming in again. Om. Again, never again. No such thing as again in eternity. Om. So yes, this is God eternity. And this is not speaking to any persons. This is speaking to God. It's God speaking to God about God. There's no speaking to persons here. So there should have been absorption in God consciousness of the Satya Satsangha. Om. God in the happening of number 1 and number 2. Om. This is number 3. Om. God transmission of God truth. Om. So if there has not been absorbing of that, of 1 and 2, 1, 2, then that is an assignment. That is God in the happening of God information assignment for absorption. Om. Those teachings are essential. Om. So this is the third Satyavatara Satsangha. Om. God in the happening of. There is to be more introductory information before opening up to transmitting and receiving of responding to texting and to calls, audio, video, audio transmissioning. There still needs to be some more information given so that they can set this all in a seeming context of God vision. Om. So an invocation. Om. God alone exists. God alone is reality. Om. Om. God omniscience. Om. God omnipotence. Om. God omnipresence. Om. God omnimathics. Om. Om. God alone exists. God alone is reality. Om. I am God. I am God. I am God. Om, Om, Om. Om. So there has been much speaking in seeming relativity, about the wanting of various bodies that were famous in some way, like Adi Shankara, or Swami Vivekananda, or Krishna, or Shiva, or all the different seeming avatars of God, God forms, all God information, all God consciousness, but all God information. These are just name labels for God information. But that there should be seeming persons in the fiction to come and seemingly dispose of all this ignorance that has been accumulating seemingly in fiction. All of this impurity, all of this obfuscation, all of this non-clarity, all of this opaqueness, all of this pollution, seemingly, in the Maya matrix, so that truth can be seen clearly, seemingly again, Where is this? Where is Swami Vivekananda? Where is this to bring back the seeming righteousness, or whatever? This is the seeming God in the happening of the Satyuga. It may not appear to be, but it is the seeming beginning of the Satyuga. In God eternity. That's what it seems to look like in the relativity, in the fiction, the human construct dream. So there has been crying out for without knowing the God evolution. Well, it's here. It's here. This seeming apparent body, God in the form of Satyavatara, or whatever labels are to be put upon this body, is here. What has been being asked for is here, right here. So, in the relativity, are you ready? Are you ready for God truth? Because it's here. God is speaking through this. Now there are some seeming avatars, God in the form of apparently already. But the avatars are playing the relativity game. They're playing along with the human fiction. They're playing roles. And that is God myself. Those avatars are meant to play those roles. But Satyavatara tears the mask off the fiction with no role. So there is no behavior. There is no predictable behavior. Because this is transmitting God absolute truth. Not through the relativity as part of the transmitting of the relativity. They're speaking directly as God. So those seeming God in the form of avatars that are myself, my God myself, serve functioning and are very important. But the God transmission through Satyavatara is direct. There's no playing roles. So Satyavatara is here. Here. What is being asked for is already here. It's here, now. In God eternity. For the God transmission that is to accelerate and expedite the God transcension. Now, in eternity, there needs to be what is called recruitment. What appears to be that. Now Satya is speaking to God. So Satya is not going to speak to you and say, you, person, as such and such, play such and such role or whatever in this God evolution, this mission. He's just speaking to God. So listen. For this mission to be successful, there needs to be what is called recruitment of God's service. Service to God. It is called seva. There is volunteering. There needs to be volunteering, God's service, in this cause. And there is also to be recruitment for sannyasa, God in the happening of sannyasa. For initiation and ordination. For what is Satya we refer to as swamying. Not swami, not a label, not a noun. What would be considered swamying, mastering, God transmission of God information, because there needs to be preservation and propagation of God in the form of the teachings of SATYAVEDISM. Now this transmission for this recruitment, this God manifesting, is to spread. So it need not manifest immediately, seemingly, like it manifests when it manifests, because God manifests that way. God manifesting has nothing to do with immediate gratification. It's the knowing that God manifesting affects all, and all affects God manifesting. Whole God manifesting. No individual. There's no individual anything. So this information is being transmitted to be God received. Now for the God service, for the various forms of God service, there needs to be what is considered seriousness about it. In the various forms. So there must be familiarization in God consciousness of the teachings. So there are various stages to this. In what is called the link below, in the information in this description of this transmission, there are important links to important information. The 6th link leads to God information about what would be considered Satyavedism information in general, and then specifically for the God service, for more information about recruitment for the God service. Now, there should be familiarity, of course, with the teachings. So this is to develop. Seemingly, it will appear as if this is developing. So there has to be just familiarization as this goes along, as this seemingly progresses. The Satsanghas, the more and more there's familiarity with all of this and seeming comfortableness, then just naturally there's going to be wanting to partake in service, in the various forms of service, depending upon compatibility. So this information is being transmitted generally. There is not going to be getting into specifics. That can be for another satsanga that can go into great detail about this, because there is a certain criteria. Because this mission is of the utmost importance for God in the form of the world. So this information is being given generally. So it is information, more information. The 6th link leads to more information. And then there can be contacting through various means. Now the Satsanghas are available. The God in the form of the happening of the Satsanghas, Satyavatara Satsanghas, are available in many forms. There's God in the form of Gitfo, Facebook, on this seeming page, the Gitfo seeming Swami page, and then the Satya page, and the SATYAVEDISM page, and then there is on the website God in the form of the SATYAVEDISM website in the Satsangha section, and then on God in the form of YouTube, So the various what are called social media, which is nothing more than God information. These labels mean nothing, basically. All this is various forms of God information propagation. What are called platforming, whatever is God Inteltech, networking, God intelligence technology, networking. That is what it truly is. And all of the seeming what are called social media, that it means nothing. God is manifesting in that way and disseminating that God information in those flavors. So that information is available. And there can be direct link to the to the God in the Form of the section on the website. And also, there is God in the happening of the God manifesting the Discord, Satyavedism Discord, discord.com, God in the form of server, so that there can be God speaking to God about God in the various forms, in the texting and in the audio, in the voice, and maybe video, and then that is going to add to the Satsanghas, because then the audio transmissioning and the receiving can come in from the Gitfo Facebook Messenger, and also from Gitfo Discord. Now, to continue with the seva, with the recruitment information, just a bit more. The propagation that is to occur through the volunteering and the swamiing, is so that the teachings do not become diluted into fiction. God in the form of the scriptures and the live streams and the Satsanghas and the Om Gita and the various other forms, the many forms that the God transmissions stream in, and propagate. That information must not be corrupted, as so much God information has been. The cult of humanity has taken God information and corrupted it. Because when it is handed down in various forms, it loses its direct power. Because it gets disintegrated. It gets transmitted through impurity, and then it's translated into relative language. And it's corrupted. Because it is interpreted incorrectly by those that do not know the information, the God information directly. In other words, the direct knowledge transmissions, when filtered through ignorance, create ignorance, and that ignorance is propagated. And that is why there is much fictional, spiritual information that is hearsay passed around and through that is thought to be God content, God truth content. And so this perpetuates all this misunderstanding. So that must not occur with God in the form of these teachings. This God truth. must remain pure. As it was originally delivered and eternal, to activate in God consciousness eternally, Om, without being corrupted by the misunderstandings of the relative thinking that translates it into fiction. So the volunteering, God in the form of, God in the happening of, the volunteering, the God service, the sannyasa, Om, the swamying, etc., the various other words that are to become apparent for God propagation of God's truth. Om. Om. This is essential. Om. This is seemingly why. There must be direct God vision. So there must be God in the form of those that are seemingly speaking and propagating the God information with God vision. Direct God vision. Direct. Not thought. Not intellectualized. Not conceptualized. Direct. Beyond thought. If it is only thought and intellectualized, it is nothing. Nothing. That is what most of what it passes for important information in the seeming cult of humanity is. It's all intellectualization, all conceptualization. You can take all of that. If there is pride in that sort of information, that sort of accumulation of knowledge, then it must go. It doesn't matter how many scriptures one knows, seemingly. It doesn't matter how much God information, spouting of information endlessly. It does not matter how many thousands of books have been read. If there is not direct God vision, if there is not direct seeming God experience, all of that information means nothing. It means nothing. This must be understood. It must be understood. Now, there is nothing against that. That is important, that information be absorbed. But if that is all there is, just this accumulation of seeming spiritual information and not direct realization, then it means nothing. It might as well be any other information, any other accumulated information, or degrees, or certificates, or whatever. All of that's well and fine, but if there's no direct realization, then it means nothing. It's still in the fiction. It's still in the dreaming. So this information must be propagated and propagated. It must come mass, en masse, worldwide, God in the happening of, worldwide. That is the mission, So there must be seriousness about it. And there must be seriousness about God realization. Again, there is much more. There is much more that is to be transmitted. But that is basic, fundamental. Now, as for absorption in God consciousness, is absorption of this God truth information. The best modes are what would be considered large, as big as possible. I know that there's the God Intel Tech, that there is this miniaturing, small seeming God in the form of devices, little tiny phone, God in the form of, and that is great. Beautiful God Intel Tech, but optimal absorption would be larger. So if there is access to God in the form of computers, larger screens, then it is better to view and to absorb, to God receive the transmissions on larger seeming devices. Also, when there is reading and absorption of scriptures, God in the form of the scriptures, the larger the font, the better. The larger the font, the better. It's larger. Because it has an effect in God consciousness. Then all of the seeming details are magnified. It is like in fiction when there is viewing of movie, of God in the form of seeming film on the screen, when there is viewing in the seeming theater, all of the information is magnified into humongous proportions, so that even the tiniest seeming little gesture is seen. That is the functioning. It is meant to be that. Likewise, with the teachings, the larger the better. So when there is reading of the scriptures, if there is access to a seeming God in the form of computers, then there can be enlarging the font to 72 pixels, large font. This is what it would be considered educational learning information. It's absorbed in consciousness, and it takes effect in a powerful way. Now, all of it is powerful, but the larger and the louder, the better. And what is called repeating, even though, again, there is no such thing as repetition, because all is happening in God eternity, always fresh and always now. But what seems to appear to be repetition, nothing again can be repeated, because it is always happening, never the same way, ever. Ever. What would be considered repetitions of the information, which then acts freshly in consciousness as if it's happening now, in eternity. So some of those are what would be learning tools. That God information is learning tools for absorption. Also, what would be considered slower absorption. An absorption when there is attention. Now it would be considered multitasking, but concentrated direct attention. What is called paying attention, real observing. So absorb the teachings for the tools of the meta of learning. So that is some essential information. Again, this is all introductory in preparation for God in the form of the speaking, God speaking to God about God. All the seeming interactioning. So again, refer to the Satsanga 1 and 2. Because you must know what you truly are. Satya repeats this seemingly over and over again. You are not human. You are not human. You must be dehypnotized from the thoughts that you are human. And many countless other thoughts seemingly that has created the delusion. All of this delusion, all this misinformation. Most of the information that you've ever been taught or learned. God has no limitations of what is thought. You are beyond all thought. What you think of yourself, what you think of others. You should have no thought about yourself. You should have no idea about yourself. I'm this, I'm like that. So-and-so's like this. So-and-so's not going to like that. So-and-so's sweet. So-and-so's like this or not like that. I'm a this, I'm a that. I. You. He, she, it, whatever. True freedom is beyond all that thought about. All the functioning can continue. All the seemingly healthy functioning, all of that seemingly continue with no thought in the seeming world about what you are. None. That's why Satya is not concerned about what would be considered meaning. Hi, what do you do? What do you do? What does that mean? Hi, what do you do? Nothing has ever happened to you. So God absorbed this direct information. Nothing has ever happened to you as God absolute. Nothing has ever happened to you as God absolute. All has been observed, but nothing has ever happened to you as God absolute. So absorb this. Do not forget it and go seemingly on with whatever other information. Absorb. Nothing has ever happened to you as God absolute. Absorb. Start to seemingly directly experience this. Take all the stories and all the information about you that seemingly you have thought and others has thought about you or whatever, and discard all of that and seemingly contemplate and then directly experience that nothing has ever happened to you as God Absolute. You are the same as you've always eternally ever been. Absorb. So seemingly contemplate this. And then seemingly try to find this experience. Try to find the back of this experience. Now there are going to be many teachings. There are so many teachings already, and there are to be many other teachings to God manifest. So this is only seemingly the beginning, in eternity. But there is no beginning. It's the beginningless beginning, whatever. It is. Now seemingly soon there is to be the fourth Satsangha, and then definitely, God willing, what is called in God Eternity, Getern, next week. Getern, God Eternity, because there is no time, but God Eternity, next week. There is to be the opening up to the transmitting and receiving direct, God speaking to God about God, all what are called the seeming questions and concerns, and all are to occur. So there must be absorbing of the first 3 Satsanghas. Now there is a lot of information, and the first 2 in eternity are in Getern, 5+ hours, and then adding this teaching, number 3. So there is a lot of God information. So there should be familiarizing and absorbing of this content, so that there can be proceeding, going forward into this investigation of God truth. Now, do not take this lightly. That information needs to be it needs to be absorbed. If there is really wanting to dive into this and to really know God truth directly, then there should be absorbing the Satsanga information, the first 3 teachings, plus the information that is in the description below, the 6 links going to important introductory intake information for Satyavedism, the exploration of God truth. And again, pay attention to the 6th link if there is interest in God's service directly for the mission of Satyavedism. Directly seeming God manifesting with the seeming Satyavatara, this mission that is of utmost importance to God in the form of the world. So all of this, there is much God information that can be gone through and absorbed. And then there is going forth into all of this. And the God in the happening of the Satyavatara Satsanghas are then to occur frequently, starting in Getern next week. They're to occur frequently. Daily get turn. Om. Get turn daily. Once, twice, whatever. Seeming long teachings, seeming short teachings. Spontaneous transmitting with no seeming words. All sorts of occurrences are to happen. So get ready and be prepared. Om, Om, Om.